So while I was in Nigeria, all of my work experience was gathered through working with the NGOs. So I know firsthand what I'm about to share with you guys today. It's so unfortunate that Trump is deciding to shut down the funding of USAID and most of these NGOs. As much as I agree that a lot of people have benefited from these donations, but the reality is that the most beneficiaries of these funds are the people who run these NGOs. So let me give you a practical example of what I'm talking about. So an NGO would send a proposal to one of these donor bodies, trying to make an argument that one of the reasons that children who are born with HIV/AIDS don't have a viral load suppression is because probably they don't have food to eat. And so if you're not eating properly or eating a balanced diet, the drug is most likely not going to work properly. And so they would make a proposition that they would like to also equip the parents of these children with a life skill that they could actually use to help the children to feed. Something like if we can provide a grinding machine or a fish dryer or sewing machine or anything just to equip these parents to be able to gain a life skill, so they will be able to cater for themselves in order to provide a better life for these children. And the goal is viral load suppression. It makes sense. And then other things that they would propose is, we would like to also give them transport to be able to come to the hospital, because some of them don't even have the transport to come down to the hospital. And so we feel like if we can provide the transportation for them, it will help them have a viral load suppression. Alongside other benefits is we would like to also provide school materials like bags and also offer some of them scholarships for them to be able to study so that they can have a well-meaning life. Now on paper, all this sounds very nice and interesting. But the reality is that if 10 million naira is being approved for each of these kids, and I tell you these kids are like thousands or in millions, let's assume that 10 million naira is being budgeted for each of these kids. At the end of the day, the reality is that the impact of this money on the child's life is not even up to 10,000 naira. No jokes. Yes, I know they'll try to bring real proof of what they've done for these families, and so they go around and buy a few of these equipment, give some of them money to come to the hospital just to have a proof like they are actually doing what they have proposed to do. But in reality, majority of the chunk of this money is being spent by those sitting in the offices. But I would not even like to dive into that topic in this video, because even the people who were working the most, like the people doing the dirty jobs on the field, I mean the ones who engaged directly with these assumed recipients, were very poorly, in fact terribly compensated by their bosses, as the ogas at the tops were the ones who were ripping off and enjoying 90% of this bounty. Now the major issue about this USAID withdrawal is that majority of our doctors and health workers were working with these USAID organizations. And the reason why they were all involved with these organizations was because only these NGO organizations were the people willing to compensate them or to pay them salaries that were equivalent to the skills which they provided, which in turn allowed them to live a more better or more comfortable life. A lot of these people were also interested in moving abroad, and we all know how expensive it is to move abroad. So the only window available for them to work and save up the income that was required for them to relocate abroad was these NGOs. Because a lot of them moved abroad through applying for a master's degree, as very little people were fortunate to have a job directly from Nigeria. And then COVID happened. And so opportunities came for health workers to move massively and work abroad. This was exciting, as this was an opportunity for you to just move abroad and begin to earn almost immediately, without the stress of paying a school fees through a master's degree or even unnecessary debt because you want to relocate. Now, because of this window, this period forced a lot of Nigerians to venture into studying a health professional course. Even those who had graduated had to go back for a second degree in any health course, especially the nursing course, and all this was because they saw a means to run away from the country. The big issue now is that most of these countries have clamped down on immigration, which has made it very difficult or almost impossible for you to even travel or move abroad at the moment. 90% of these health professionals will be forced to work in Nigeria. Another issue is that with the withdrawal of USAID and most of these donating bodies from Nigeria, there's most likely going to be a high influx of health professionals into the unemployment space. And like we know about the law of demand and supply, when the supply of a commodity becomes higher than the demand for that commodity, it cheapens the price or the value of that commodity. With the excess availability of health workers and health skills, employers would not even be willing to pay as much as they used to pay in the past. Because if you refuse to not collect that salary, there's another person that is most likely going to accept because they just want to survive. I would like to continue this conversation on another video. Bye for now.